The Israel-Palestine conflict is one of the world's most enduring and complex disputes. It centers around a small piece of land on the eastern shore of the Mediterranean Sea. This land holds immense religious significance for Jews, Christians, and Muslims. For Jews, it is the biblical land of Israel, their ancient homeland. Jerusalem, with its western wall, is the holiest city in Judaism. Christians revere it as the Holy Land, where Jesus was born in Bethlehem and crucified in Jerusalem. Sites like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre are central to their faith. Muslims also hold this land sacred. Jerusalem is home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam. The Prophet Muhammad is believed to have ascended to heaven from this very spot. This convergence of three major religions in such a small area lies at the heart of the conflict's complexity. Before 1948, the region that encompasses modern-day Israel and the Palestinian territories was a diverse land. Arabs, both Muslim and Christian, constituted the majority of the population. They had lived there for centuries, cultivating the land and maintaining their cultural traditions. Jewish communities also existed, though in smaller numbers. They too had a long history in the region dating back millennia. However, the late 19th century saw a rise in Jewish immigration, driven by growing anti-Semitism in Europe. This demographic shift, with increasing numbers of Jews arriving, fueled tensions with the Arab population. The stage was set for a clash of national aspirations. For centuries, the region was part of the Ottoman Empire. While tensions existed between different religious groups, a complex system of coexistence generally prevailed. However, the late 19th century witnessed the rise of nationalism, both among Arabs and Jews. The Ottoman Empire, weakened and crumbling, struggled to maintain control. The seeds of conflict were sown as both Arabs and Jews began to envision their own independent states in the region. Following World War I, the Ottoman Empire collapsed. The League of Nations granted Great Britain a mandate over Palestine. The British were tasked with preparing the region for self-governance. However, Britain made conflicting promises. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 pledged support for a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This declaration, while vague, was seen by Zionists as a promise of a Jewish state. At the same time, the British made assurances to the Arabs, implying their support for Arab independence in the region. These contradictory promises fueled tensions between Jewish and Arab communities. The British found themselves caught in a quagmire of their own making. In the aftermath of World War II and the Holocaust, international sympathy for the Jewish people grew. The horrors of the Holocaust strengthened the resolve for a Jewish homeland. In 1947, the United Nations voted to partition Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Arab. The Jews accepted the partition plan. However, the Arabs rejected it, seeing it as a betrayal of their rights to the land. In 1948, Israel declared independence. War immediately erupted as neighboring Arab states attacked. Israel emerged victorious, expanding its territory beyond the UN-designated borders. This war, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe, by Palestinians, resulted in the displacement of over 700,000 Palestinians from their homes. The refugee issue remains a major point of contention to this day. Since its creation in 1948, Israel has fought numerous wars with its Arab neighbors in 1956, 1967, and 1973. The 1967 Six-Day War in particular had lasting consequences. Israel captured the West Bank, East Jerusalem, the Gaza Strip, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. This victory led to Israel's occupation of these territories. Over time, Israel established settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, a move considered illegal under international law. The expansion of these settlements, seen as obstacles to peace, further inflamed tensions. Palestinians living under Israeli occupation resisted in various forms. The Palestine Liberation Organization, formed in 1964, initially employed armed struggle against Israel. However, the PLO later recognized Israel's right to exist and sought a negotiated two-state solution. The late 1980s saw the eruption of the First Intifada, a Palestinian uprising against Israeli occupation. This intifada, characterized by protests, civil disobedience, and at times violence, lasted for years. It brought the Palestinian issue to the forefront of international attention. A second intifada, more violent than the first, erupted in 2000. This uprising, marked by suicide bombings and Israeli military operations, lasted for 5 years. The second intifada resulted in thousands of casualties on both sides and deepened the cycle of violence and mistrust. Over the decades, there have been numerous attempts to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The Oslo Accords, signed in 1993, offered a glimmer of hope. These accords, based on the principle of land for peace, led to the creation of the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority was granted limited self-governance in parts of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. However, the Oslo process ultimately faltered. Disagreements over key issues such as the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the dismantling of Israeli settlements proved insurmountable. Subsequent peace efforts, including the Camp David Summit in 2000 and the Annapolis Conference in 2007, also failed to bridge the divide. The two-state solution, once seen as the most viable path to peace, seemed increasingly distant. Today, the Israel-Palestine conflict remains unresolved. The Gaza Strip, controlled by Hamas since 2007, has endured several devastating wars with Israel. The West Bank, governed by the Palestinian Authority, faces ongoing Israeli settlement expansion and military incursions. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is particularly dire, with a crippled economy and limited access to basic necessities. The recent escalation in violence in 2023 to 2024, with devastating consequences in both Gaza and Lebanon, further underscores the fragility of the situation. Finding a path to peace requires addressing complex issues, including the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, security concerns for both Israelis and Palestinians, and the dismantling of Israeli settlements. It demands a commitment to dialogue, compromise, and a shared vision for a future where both peoples can live in peace and security. The road ahead is long and arduous, but the pursuit of peace remains imperative.